Welcome to HH28, where we unravel the secrets of self-discovery and matchmaking. We are Hugh and Heather,
two master holistic guides dedicated to helping you navigate the worlds of numerology, astrology, and personality in pursuit of meaningful connections.
Hey there. So you're ready to dive deep into the world of ISTPs, huh?
They're a fascinating bunch for sure.
Well, get ready because we are about to go way beyond those usual personality descriptions you see everywhere online.
Yeah, ISTPs are really interesting because when you look at their core traits, introverted, sensing, thinking, perceiving, they really come together in a special way.
So we're going to uncover their strengths, their weaknesses, maybe even how they click or clash with other types.
We're going to get into all that.
Okay, but before we get ahead of ourselves, can you give us a quick rundown of what ISTP even means for anyone new to this whole MBTI thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So picture this. Someone who gets their energy from their own thoughts.
Okay, so that's the introverted part.
Exactly. And they trust what they can see and touch.
Sensing.
You got it. They use logic more than emotions.
So that would be thinking.
Right, again. And they like flexibility, plans, not so much.
Definitely sounds like perceiving to me.
There you have it. The ISTP in a nutshell.
I can already see how all those things come together to make a really distinct personality. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. When we talk about ISTP strengths, what are we talking about?
One word, practical.
Okay.
They are the ultimate figure-it-out types. And remember how they focus on sensing?
Yeah.
That means they are really in tune with like the physical world.
Okay.
Like they're amazing at hands-on stuff, solving problems with this blend of logic and instinct. It's kind of uncanny.
So like if my car breaks down, the ISTP is the friend I want around.
100%.
Yeah.
And not even just because they can probably fix it, which they probably can, but ISTPs are so good at staying calm, even when things get a little crazy.
Right.
And because they lead with thinking, they just look at problems logically, even in a crisis.
Okay. That's pretty impressive. But come on, nobody's perfect. What would you say are some areas where ISTPs maybe have a little bit of room to grow?
You know, since they're so grounded in logic, emotions can sometimes be a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't have emotions.
Right.
It's more like they process them differently.
Okay.
So they might find it tough to really express how they feel.
Right.
Or totally get what other people need emotionally.
So maybe not the best for like those long heart-to-heart kind of talks.
Probably not. You're more likely to see them express affection through what they do rather than what they say.
Makes sense.
Remember, tangible results, that's kind of their thing. A random act of service, a well-thought-out gift, that's their way of showing you they care.
It's like their love language is fixing your leaky faucet or building you that bookshelf you always wanted.
Spot on. And this preference for action over emotional expression, it can show up in their relationships too.
Interesting.
Yeah, so to really get ISTP compatibility, you have to understand how much they need their independence.
Okay, so let's get into it. ISTP relationships, who are their ideal partners? Give us the inside scoop.
ISTPs, they really click with people who get their need for space and who really admire their practical, down-to-earth style.
Got it.
So think of it like this, a meeting of the minds and mutual respect for each other's, autonomy.
So I'm picturing a partner who's equally happy talking philosophy over coffee or like rebuilding a vintage motorcycle engine with them on a Saturday.
Now you're getting it.
Right.
One type that often really clicks with an ISTP is the ESTJ.
Okay, ESTJ.
Yeah, because the ESTJ is all about organization and structure.
Makes sense.
So that can bring a really nice sense of balance to the ISTP's more, let's say, spontaneous side.
So it's about finding someone who's cool with that let's just go for it attitude, but also can like help them stay grounded.
Exactly.
What about other compatible types? Who else?
INTJs are another great match.
INTJs, okay.
Yeah, because both types are all about logic, intellectual stimulation, and they just get each other's need for independence.
It's like they speak the same language, but they also totally get the beauty of a good, comfortable silence.
Precisely. Now, on the flip side, relationships that need constant emotional expression or have all these rigid structures, those can be a bit tougher for ISTPs.
Okay, so hit us with it. Proceed with caution list. Which types should our independent ISTP maybe approach with a little more caution?
Well, ESFJs, for example.
Okay.
They're super caring, super outgoing.
Right.
But they might be a little too much for an ISTP.
How so?
ESFJs really need that deep emotional connection, and they really like things to be structured.
That makes sense.
And that can be overwhelming for an ISTP.
It's almost like they're speaking two different languages of love, you know?
Absolutely.
Like the ESFJ is fluent in those heartfelt talks and grand gestures.
Right.
But the ISTP is more about that quiet support, those practical expressions of affection.
Exactly. And then there's ENTJs.
Okay, ENTJ.
They're similar to ISTPs in that they have that drive, that ambition,
Right.
but their leadership styles,
Yeah.
they can clash. ENTJs, they're natural leaders. They like to take charge, come up with strategies.
Makes sense.
And that can feel a little restricting to an ISTP who really values their independence.
Yeah, so navigating those power dynamics could be tricky. So it sounds like the key to a successful relationship with an ISTP really comes down to like understanding those core values,
Absolutely.
that independence, their practicality, and that unique way they deal with emotions.
You got it. You have to remember their love language might involve tools
Yeah,
and problem solving.
right. It's not always the most obvious thing.
Exactly. And quality time.
Yeah.
That might mean tinkering in the garage together or hitting a new hiking trail.
Not necessarily endless heart-to-hearts.
Not their style.
So it's not just romantic relationships where this matters. What about friendships?
Same deal.
Really?
ISTPs,
Mm-hmm.
they're incredibly loyal friends,
Okay.
but they still need that independence, that space.
Right.
They're not going to be joined at the hip with you 24/7, but if you really need them,
They'll be there.
they'll be there in a heartbeat.
So, like, trying to drag an ISTP to every social event is probably not the best idea.
Let's just say they'd probably rather be at home, maybe working on a project,
In their workshop, right.
or maybe out exploring.
Okay.
Remember how they recharge?
Yeah.
Solo activities, that's their thing. Hit them with too much social interaction, and it's going to have the opposite effect.
It's like their social battery needs a different kind of charger, huh?
Totally. But here's something super important to remember. Even though they might not always say how they feel, ISTPs are some of the most loyal and supportive friends you can find.
That's a good point.
So don't mistake their quietness for them not caring, because that's not it at all.
Right. They're the friend that shows up with a toolbox when you're moving, not the one who sends a sentimental card.
100%. They're all about action, not just words.
Exactly.
They show they care by actually helping you out, by doing stuff with you.
So think less, let's talk about our feelings, and more, let's build something awesome together.
Now you're getting it.
I love it. Okay, so we've talked about ISTP relationships. Let's talk about another area where they really shine: careers.
Oh, yeah.
We touched on how good they are at solving problems and how much they love working with their hands. So what kind of careers would you say naturally fit those strengths?
It's about finding a job that uses their logical mind and lets them see those tangible results.
Okay, that makes sense.
And remember, they're all about the physical world.
Yeah.
That's the sensing preference.
Right.
But their thinking side, that means they're awesome at analyzing stuff, figuring things out.
Okay, so we're talking careers where they can roll up their sleeves, get their hands dirty, actually see the impact of their work.
Exactly. So you're going to think mechanics, engineering, maybe even surgery, or becoming a pilot.
Those are some pretty high-stakes fields.
That's the thing. Those jobs, they need someone with technical skills and who can stay calm under pressure, right?
Yeah.
Those are things that ISTPs, they've got those in spades.
It's like they have this built-in advantage when things get a little stressful.
Right.
While everyone else is freaking out, the ISTP is just like, chill, assessing the situation, figuring out the most logical way to fix it.
Precisely. But we shouldn't limit them to just those traditional fields,
That's true.
because ISTPs are amazingly adaptable.
Right, that makes sense.
They can do well in any career where they get to use their brains to solve problems and where they can always be learning something new.
Okay, I like that. So paint me a picture here. What would be like a less conventional career path that an ISTP might really enjoy?
What about software development?
Interesting. Okay.
Think about it. It's all logic. It's all about solving problems.
Yeah,
And you're always having to learn new technologies.
that's true.
That's right up an ISTP's alley, you know? That need for mental stimulation, wanting to know how things work.
It's like this giant puzzle that keeps changing.
Yeah.
They can be creative, use those tech skills, and see their work come to life in the digital world.
Exactly. And don't forget about being an entrepreneur.
Good point.
ISTPs are natural innovators.
Right.
They're not afraid of a little risk. They like doing their own thing.
Right.
And they really shine in those situations where they can kind of forge their own path.
Yeah, I can totally see that. It's that classic, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself mentality.
Yes.
And running their own business means they can be hands-on with everything.
Absolutely.
Building the product, solving those logistical problems, you know?
Exactly. And their talents aren't limited to, just the technical stuff either.
Okay, so we're going even further outside the box now.
Some ISTPs find a lot of satisfaction in those creative fields where they can use their hands to bring their vision to life. Think like sculpture, maybe woodworking, even the culinary arts.
That's a really good point.
Those are all areas where they can use their technical skills and their creativity to make something tangible, something unique.
It's like they have this drive to create. To build.
Yes.
To leave their mark on the world, but in a way that's meaningful, and aesthetically pleasing.
And you can't forget about autonomy.
Right.
That's really important for an ISTP to feel satisfied in their career.
So a traditional 9-to-5 desk job.
Yeah.
With lots of structure, someone always looking over their shoulder, that might not be the best fit.
Let's just say it might feel a little stifling. Remember, these are people who crave variety, who get energy from challenges, and who want to approach their work in their own way.
So it's less about fitting into some predefined box and more about finding a role that really lets them use their strengths, right?
Yeah.
To keep learning, keep growing, and have a real, tangible impact on the world around them.
Absolutely. And that actually brings us to another really important aspect of the ISTP journey: personal growth.
We've been talking about how ISTPs can really thrive in those careers where they can use those practical skills, that independent nature.
Right.
But what about personal growth for an ISTP?
Okay.
Where do they even begin?
Yeah.
They seem so self-reliant already.
It's easy to think that personal growth is all about, fixing your weaknesses.
Right.
But with ISTPs, it's more about realizing that even your biggest strengths, they have, two sides.
Okay, that's interesting. Give me an example.
So take their independence.
Right. Yeah.
Right? It's like their trademark. It's what pushes them to solve problems, to make their own way.
Totally. That's the ISTP we've come to know and love.
Exactly. But that same independence, if they take it too far, it can make it hard to ask for help when they need it.
That makes sense.
They might not want to rely on anyone else, even when it would be good for them.
So part of their growth is maybe learning to balance that I got this attitude with knowing that it's okay to need help sometimes.
Exactly. It's about realizing that asking for help, it's not weak.
Right.
It's actually a really smart way to tackle those challenges from a different perspective.
Right.
To actually use their strengths even better.
It's like they're adding another tool to their toolbox. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. And this kind of ties into another area where ISTPs can grow: emotional intelligence.
Right, because we talked about how they experience emotions differently.
Right.
Maybe not as outwardly emotional as other types.
Exactly. Personal growth for an ISTP might mean figuring out how to bridge that gap. Not to become someone they're not.
Right.
But to make those relationships even stronger.
So it's not about forcing themselves to be super emotional.
No.
But maybe finding ways to be more direct about how they feel.
Exactly. It could be as basic as saying, "I'm proud of you," or "Hey, I appreciate you."
Right.
Small things, but they make a big difference.
They really do. It's like learning a whole new language, right?
Right.
Language of emotions.
You got it. And just like learning anything, too, it takes practice. It takes patience. And hey, a little humor along the way never hurts.
Oh, for sure. Because let's face it, emotions, they can be messy for anyone.
Absolutely. But here's the great thing about ISTPs. When they set their mind to something, they get it done.
Right. They're determined.
They tackle things head on.
Yeah, that logic, that quiet determination, it's what makes them so awesome.
Totally. So if an ISTP decides, I want to work on my emotional intelligence, they'll find a way.
They'll make it happen. So they might not write you a poem about their feelings.
Probably not.
But they'll show up for you. They'll be there.
Yes.
And they'll communicate in their own way, right?
Exactly.
I love it. This has been an amazing depth dive.
It has.
We really went beyond those surface level descriptions of ISTPs, right?
Yeah.
We got into what really makes them tick, their strengths, their quirks, that incredible potential they have to grow.
Absolutely.
They're a great reminder that intelligence comes in so many forms.
So true.
That logic, action, those are important.
Yeah.
But so is being able to connect with people, to build those real, meaningful relationships.
Well said.
And sometimes it's the people who seem the most independent who actually benefit the most from a little support and understanding.
Beautifully said.
To all you ISTPs out there, we want to hear from you. How have you embraced personal growth? Head to the comments and share your thoughts. Until next time, keep exploring.
And keep learning and keep embracing all those, fascinating contradictions that make us who we are.